Yeah, I think the biggest change must be the whole customer expectation, right? And it's mainly driven by COVID. Before COVID, we were still okay with channels being separate, and we were still okay doing things the old way. You go to the store, you roam around, you get your stuff, you queue up, and you part with your money, and that was it. And there were only a few people who used the more technical solutions. And when COVID kicked in, there was no choice anymore. You had to adopt technology, you had to go more digital lifestyle, and that's how we run our lives now. So now we expect those premium services that often are driven by our technology, right? So you have an app on your phone, whether you go banking, whether you start a checkout, to be available everywhere. So the expectation level of customers has risen significantly. Yeah, so diversity is an important thing, because diversity, it's all about convenience, flexibility and choice, right? And the diversity plays very much into that. And if you look at the amount of options a merchant, for example, in the digital world, an e-com has to interact with their customers, either directly or via partners, in the most fantastic ways, it's often a letdown when you go to in-person payments or in-store or card-present payments, right? That's not where we have that. So if you go back to that world, we only have had the option cash or card. Where the digital world, you could choose, I want direct debit, I want account-to-account payment. Ideal in the Netherlands is a perfect example. I pay with my wallet, or I do buy now, pay later. And those choices, that flexibility, drives conversion. And now, with the AEVI platform, we can bring that also to in-person payments. That diversity, that choice to make better business. I think that's all about customer intimacy, right? You remember the days where, or maybe not, it depends how old you are, where the local shop owner knew exactly who you were, when you would come in the store, what you would order, and he or she might have given you something extra for the kids. The world has changed. The world is much bigger nowadays. That local owner doesn't know half as much as most of the e-commerce websites where I have an account. So what we need to do is, in widening those channels, in using that diversity, and with the use, for example, of platforms such as AEVI, give that data back to the merchants to re-establish that intimacy, because knowledge and the use of data can improve that whole personal character again. So the push has been there, right? It has been an evolutionary process. For the last 20 years, we saw more and more digitalization coming in, e-commerce drive. But I think, and it's quite sad to say, that COVID was that external shock, to the whole ecosystem, which turned it into this ultimate acceleration, where we now see, the services we had to adapt, the push we had to give it, are now demanded by customers. Customers are not prepared anymore to step down from what they had the last few years. I think the pace of digitalization and the way we now look at the customer, especially accelerated in the last 2-3 years, is unfortunately highlighting the areas where there's a lack of digitization so much, right? So, because what you get now is that you cannot explain as a merchant or as a service provider to a merchant why a customer can pay in a certain environment with their preferred payment means, but they go in store and they can't. Yeah? Fortunately nowadays, we don't only have the answer to that question, but we can actually execute on it and implement a platform that brings that exact flexibility to in-person payments. I think partnerships are important when you look at the whole ecosystem, right? So let's go to the digital world again in e-commerce. In e-commerce, it's a fresh new world with clean integrations, perfect opportunities to orchestrate connectivity, so that promotes an environment where many parties need to work together, sometimes in a co-opetition shape, but it provides a focus for each party to deliver the best in their capabilities, their core capabilities, to provide this first and best-in-class experience for customers. And the digital world has always been leading that, and the in-person world has been trailing it. If you look at PayFacs, for example, they changed the digital world. They provided, ways for innovators to implement new services like fast onboard or instant onboarding, multi-party payouts, and that led to the acceleration of the Stripes, or, for example, to a Tilt who's taking that to the next level by providing PayFact as a service. And the latter, that's the beauty of it, was never possible in payments land or in payments commerce, and that's why we're so proud of our partnership with Tilt, because together, for the first time, we can provide ISVs with that digital flexibility in the in-person commerce space.